As was previously mentioned, I believe I had Commissioners Roop and Commissioner Coleman on. Do I have other
Holzman.
commissioners?
Commissioner Holzman is here as well.
Thank you. Are there any other commissioners who have joined us at this point? Okay, well, if they do join us, they will let me know. At this point, why don't we go ahead and go on the record? Good afternoon. Today is October 13th of 2022, and it is currently 1:17 p.m. Now, you just finished the question of the public hearing, and if you had questions about this rate case, I hope you were able to get those answered. Now, before I take comments, I'm going to ask that everybody mute themselves unless they're speaking or actively giving comments at the time, and that'll cut down on the noise level and prevent audio feedback or unnecessary interruptions. If you need to unmute yourself and you're participating by phone, you may do so by dialing *6 when it's time to offer your comments. Now, the Missouri Public Service Commission has set aside this time for a local public hearing in file number GR-2022-0179, a general rate case captioned as, in the matter of Spire, Missouri Incorporated, doing business as Spire's request for authority to implement a general rate increase for natural gas service provided in the company's Missouri service areas. My name is John Clark. I'm the regulatory law judge overseeing this local public hearing. Now, the Missouri Public Service Commission regulates the rates charged by investor-owned utility companies in Missouri to ensure that those rates are just and reasonable. The commission also regulates the quality of service and safety of operations of investor-owned utilities. Now, the commission is made up of 5 commissioners: Chairman Ryan Silvey and Commissioners Scott Roop, Maida Coleman, Jason Holzman, and Glenn Kolkmeyer. The commissioners are appointed by the governor to fixed terms and confirmed by the Senate. The commission employs a staff of engineers, accountants, attorneys, financial analysts, and other specialists in the field of utility regulation. With me today are Commissioners Roop, Coleman, Holzman, and do I have Commissioner Kolkmeyer on? I believe Kolkmeyer may be joining us, but he's not on at the moment. Would any of the commissioners like to make an opening remark at this point? Now, the court reporter is transcribing the hearing so that the commissioners that are not present may read and review the comments at a later date. At this time, I'm going to begin by asking counsel to enter their appearance for the record, starting with Spire.
Good afternoon, Your Honor and Commissioners. My name is Matt Applington. I represent Spire, Missouri, Inc., 700 Market Street, St. Louis, Missouri, 63101.
Thank you, Mr. Applington. For the commission staff.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. I'm Don Cosper for staff, and it's 200 Madison, P.O. Box 360, Jefferson City, 65102.
Thank you, Mr. Cosper. For the Office of the Public Counsel.
John Kleiser on behalf of the Missouri Office of the Public Counsel, and I believe the court reporter has my contact information already. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kleiser. Are there any interveners present or any counsel I've not called? Okay, hearing none.
Sandra Padgett from Consumers Council of Missouri. I am the Executive Director of Consumers Council of Missouri.
You're not counsel for them and you're not representing them as a party in this case?
No, I am a party since I'm part of Consumers Council, but I'm not counsel. No, thank you.
Okay, well, thank you for letting me know.
Judge, what was her first name?
Would you say your first name again, please? The woman from Consumers Council who just spoke up. Could you repeat your first name for the court reporter?
Sandra Padgett.
And would you mind spelling your last name just so we have a clear record?
P as in Paul, A, D as in David, G as in Greg, E, 2 T's on the end as in Tom.
Thank you so much again. Now, for those who would like...
Judge, this is Commissioner Kolkmeyer. I'm here.
Thank you, Commissioner Kolkmeyer, and I expected you to join us, and I told them you would be joining us, so thank you for letting me know. Now, for those who are going to be providing comments today, I'm going to call the name listed on the sign-in sheet in the order they appear. So far, I have 4 individuals signed up to offer comments to the commission. Now, when I call your name, I'm going to ask that you unmute yourself, that you state and spell your name. As I said, we have a court reporter here for the record. And then I will place you under oath. After that, you can offer your comment to the commission. Now, there's no specific time limit, but there are a lot of people participating in this local public hearing today. And so I'm going to ask that people keep their comments as brief as possible so that everybody has a chance to offer comments. After I go through the list of people that have signed up for comments, I will ask if anybody who is present on the WebEx would like to make a comment, and at that time, you can let me know. Also, after you've offered your comments, please remain unmuted for just a second. I may have questions for you, the commissioners may have questions for you, or one of the attorneys may have questions for you. If I have a question for you, I'll just ask it. I'm going to ask that the commissioners do the same. I'm not going to pause after each witness and ask for commission questions. So just feel free to pipe in and ask your questions when they come to you. And as for attorneys, if you'll flag me just so that I can announce your name for the court reporter, that would be helpful.
Your Honor, I'm not sure if I'm on the list because my meeting password would not be accepted on the phone.
Oh, what's your name, sir?
Christian Moss.
Christian, I'm sorry, spell your last name, please.
It's Moss, M-O-S-S.
No, you are not on the list, but I will add you to the list, Mr. Moss.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Now I'm going to tell you all today that the commission is not going to be able to answer your questions today. That's what the question and answer portion was for. And that's because the commissioners have to remain impartial until after the evidence is presented at the evidentiary hearing. If you have questions, please speak to representatives of the company, the commission staff, or the Office of the Public Counsel. Also, I'm going to ask that given that this is a WebEx meeting and there is a potential for a lot of overlap, I'm going to ask that you be polite and courteous to everyone who is speaking here today and treat them as you would like to be treated. And with that, I'm just going to go ahead and start calling people to give comments. The first person I have listed to offer comments today is Letitia Barnes. Ms. Barnes, are you present? And I'm not hearing from Ms. Barnes. I will note for the record that Ms. Barnes did offer comments at last night's public hearing live, so I did not know if she would be present today. The next person I have on my list to offer comments to the commission is Jayla Atkinson. Is Jayla Atkinson present? Okay. Hearing no one, I will move on down the list. Harvey Ferdman. Is Harvey Ferdman present?
Judge,
Yes.
this is Commissioner Coleman. Would you please remind people how to unmute if they're on a telephone? Because sometimes people do have problems with that.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Commissioner Coleman, and I will reiterate that at this point. If you are trying to unmute yourself via telephone, you need to dial *6 to unmute yourself. So
Thanks
if
for
that's
that reminder. This is Harvey Ferdman. I didn't realize I signed up to make a comment. I was thinking I was just signing up to observe. I have no comment for the commission at this time. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you for letting me know that you're here. Sharon Jones. Is Sharon Jones present? And Mr. Moss, I believe you have now moved to the top of the list. So Christian Moss.
All right. Well, that was quick.
Would you like to offer comments to the commission? Please state and spell your name for the record.
Yes, sir. My name is Christian Moss. That's C-H-R-I-S-T-I-A-N. Last name Moss, M-O-S-S.
And Mr. Moss, would you raise your right hand to be sworn? Do you solemnly swear or affirm?
Yes, sir.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give at this local public hearing is the truth?
I do.
And what comments would you like to offer the commission today?
Well, Your Honor, I'm actually from California. I lived in California for 30 full years, and it's no surprise. We all know California, right? It's full of money laundering, full of issues with the government and utility companies, and it's just way too overpriced, and it's gone to complete crap. That's why I've moved out, and I live in Missouri now. But to tell you the truth, Your Honor, the Spire has been outrageous since I moved here, like nothing I've ever seen in my time in California. I mean, it is outrageous, sir, when I'm spending $75 every single month and I have the lowest amount of gas possible to use, and the only thing it's doing is heating my water. It feels like I'm in some third world country when I can't even take a normal length shower and I'm still getting charged $75. Now, the second part of what I'd like to say is that, you know, the CEO of Spire is Suzanne Sitherwood, okay? She made $5.6 million over the last fiscal year, which was 2021. It was a 26% raise, sir, over her $4.4 million in pay. She currently gets 48 times greater salary than Spire's median employee, and their median employee already makes more than a lot of people living in this service area. I looked up the difference; it's about $60,000 or so, versus what people earn in this area is much lower. And also, everybody on the board that I'm looking at: Mark C. Darrell, Stephen Lindsay, Stephen Rash, Michael Geiselhart, Suzanne Sitherwood, the lowest any of them make at all in cash value, not bonuses, is $700,000, and it goes up to almost $2.5 million, and then millions of dollars in equity and other benefits and everything. And it's just, I can't believe that we're come to this, Your Honor, because it's like, how can somebody that makes $30,000, $50,000 be expected to spend more when they're already not getting anything? And yet the CEO has raised her pay $1.1 million in 1 year. And the year prior was almost $1 million raise as well. Now, lastly, I know that the people representing Spire are most likely to say, well, that's different money, and she was paid from, it comes from a completely different place and all that. And to that, I have to say, we all know what money laundering is, right? You take money, you put it in one account, you say that it's for something else, but it's still, money comes from something. And if there's money that's going to them and it's increasing, then we should not have any type of an increase at all. I shouldn't have to pay $1 more. They should take a cut, and they should make it happen for the betterment if they want improvements. I don't want improvements. I don't care. It's not my problem. I think it's disturbing that I'm paying way more than California, a place that's known corrupted with fraud. And that's where I'm at, sir. It's like when I look up these face value dollars that they're getting, I mean, it's just common logic. I'm instantly like, wow, I can't believe this has happened. And lastly, I'll say, look at this. We don't trust Federal Reserve, right, guys? Everybody that's listening that lives here like me, that's one of the reasons I moved, to get away from that type of stuff. But guess what? The CEO, Suzanne Sitherwood, she started on Spire in 2016, and she's now on Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis as the chairman since 2020. To me personally, that's a conflict of interest. No matter what, it's kind of shady, right? But I'd like to finish with that.
Okay. Mr. Moss, thank you for offering your comments to the commission. I don't have any questions for you.
Thank you.
So you're excused at this point. Is there anybody else?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. It appears I've got about 80 people still on the still part of the virtual public hearing. Is there anybody else who would like to make comments to the commission about this case at this time?
Yes, I would.
Yeah, hi there.
Okay, I heard a number of people, so in an orderly fashion, I'll try and get to everybody. So if one of you would just speak up at this point.
Rod Heelan, I live in Gladstone, Missouri.
Okay, would you say your name again and spell it for the court reporter, please?
Rod Heelan, first name is R-O-D, last name H-E-E-L-A-N.
I live in Gladstone, Missouri.
Okay, Mr. Heelan, would you raise your right hand to be sworn?
All right.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give at this local public hearing is the truth?
Yes, I do.
And I'm just going to say briefly, I received a comment that somebody suggested that I have people put their hands up to call or to make comments. If you want to do that, would be great. I cannot contain all 80 people on my screen currently, so I will try and scroll through and not miss anybody. Mr. Heelan, what would you like to tell the commission this afternoon?
Well, everybody is, there's no equitable explanation that I've heard today that will take care of everybody in the rate case. The poor people, they're having to beg for a rate for their situation. I myself don't have any trouble paying my bills, but other people in this hearing are going to be. I listened to a lady that had she lives on $1,800 a month. And I looked on the computer this morning, we're going to get a $140 Social Security raise in January. Well, this rate increase is going to pretty much eat that up. And every time that some of our senior folks get a little bit of an advantage, somebody comes along and takes it away. Now, they say they need money for this and money for that, and they need money for new meters and all that kind of stuff. I don't understand why the general ratepayer is paying infrastructure fees. I was a mechanic for 35 years. All the tools in my toolbox I had to buy. I had to have them every day in order to do my job. The gas service company is the same way. Spire is the same way. They need to buy the stuff out of their profit to run their company. I cannot believe that we are paying for the instrument that figures our bill. That's ludicrous. The next thing, I don't know what the next thing would be that they would come before the commission and ask you folks for another rate increase for another piece of their infrastructure, whatever that might be. I cannot believe that a company that makes this much money cannot do a lot of stuff on their own. And when they incur a debt, they need to have the foresight to find out a way to pay for it if they're always working from behind. In other words, they're always saying today that we incurred these debts, now we want you guys to pay for them. Well, how much of that debt are you going to pay? Are you going to pay this $287 million pipeline you built? How much of that are we going to pay for that, all 287 million of it? What is your portion of that pipeline, that infrastructure? All the utilities in the state of Missouri, if they need a nut or a bolt, they come before the commission to find out if we can get paid for it. And the stuff that's on your bill, like the meter charge, like your line charge on an electricity bill. That's just other ways for them to say, we need paid for this. And these people that can't pay you, what is their percentage of their customers that are on a level payment plan, or they can't pay you at all, or is that list growing every year? And for the poor people, they're going to keep coming before the commission. They're going to keep asking for raises, and they don't care if all the charities in the state of Missouri, like United Way or Catholic Charities or whoever it might be is going to pay somebody's gas bill at some time. They're going to get paid for it eventually. But they just keep coming before the commission with raises. Cover this for me, cover that for me. Now, that's about all I got to say, and I appreciate you guys holding the meeting. But you need to spread the meetings out. I plan to go to the meeting in Kansas City. But you got more population here and also in St. Louis. And what is the Central Missouri? Where would the meeting be? At the commissioner's office? But that's all I got to say.
Okay, thank you.
I'm a very frustrated ratepayer.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mr.
I'm
Healy.
very concerned about the poor people. Thank you.
I understand that. Mr. Heelan, thank you for your comments. I appreciate them. I will say that we held a local public hearing last night in St. Louis. It was determined, and that was at 6 p.m. It was determined that the best way to offer people an opportunity to participate was to offer a virtual hearing over the noon hour today. And then next week on the 18th at 6 in the evening, there is a local public hearing that is in Kansas City. So as of right now, there are 3 scheduled for this case, with this being the second one. Now, participating via WebEx on your computer, if you look at the bottom, there's a little hand symbol. If you press that, it will raise your hand and it'll let me know that you have comments that you would like to make to the commission. At this point, I don't see anybody's hands up, but I heard a number of people. So who would next? Yes, from Southside Wellness Center.
Yes. My name is Ollie Stewart, and I'm work with the senior.
Excuse me, miss. Can you hold on just a second? Would you please, and I just had some problems hearing you. Would you please state and spell your name for the record?
Okay, Ollie, Ollie, Stewart. I'm the and I
Okay, go ahead.
and I work with seniors citywide in various programs.
Yes, hold on just a second, Ollie.
Judge, I
yes.
was having a problem hearing her.
Let me see if I can turn the volume up a little bit.
Okay.
Okay.
And I hate to ask you to start again, but would you please?
Yes, I will.
Just
Thank you
one
so much.
moment.
And I'm going to ask you to raise your right hand to be sworn as well. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give at this local public hearing is the truth?
It is the truth.
Okay. And would you please offer your comments to the commission?
Okay, my name is Ollie Stewart. I work with senior citizens and disabled throughout the city of St. Louis. And as I look at the president's salaries of $400,000 and expenses account of $50,000, and many days, and look at the senior citizens and the disabled income from not over $1,800 to $2,000 a month that they have to live out, pay medication, transportation, food, rent, and and clothing. I'm wondering, how can they afford an increase? And they got to pay the same increase to stay warm as me or you or anyone else with jobs. That's a problem for the elderly population and the disabled population. I'm wondering if you all would be going in any of these apartments, setting up, I think you said you renewed all the meters that would make sure that the utilities would be cut down, or how can they save on the utility, on the heating system? Can you all hear me?
I can hear you. I'm sorry. I indicated earlier the commission isn't going to be able to answer your questions today. And that sounds like a question for the company. You might contact the company in regard to that.
Okay. Well, I thank you for coming, but I do feel that the meetings should be, you should have more meetings in the community to make sure through the churches or some other media gathering in the community to make sure that everybody know about it. We have senior citizen buildings that I'm sure some of the directors do not know, or they don't know that this meeting is being held. They really won't know until they get their gas bill, and then they be coming up here to the center talking about how they high utility bills or gas bills. So that's my question today.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ms. Stewart,
Yes.
thank you very much for your comments.
Yeah, thank you.
Who would like to offer comments next?
I do.
This is Sean. My name is Ryan.
I heard an I do. Why don't we start with that? Who said I do?
That was me. My name is Karen Pence.
Karen Pence, is that correct?
Right. KarenPence.
And Ms. Pence, would you raise your right hand to be sworn?
Okay.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give at this local public hearing is the truth?
Yes, I do.
And what would you like to tell the commission this afternoon?
Okay. My comment is it's just outrageous. Any part of a rate increase might be a contribution to compensation increases for executives that are already overpaid. I know you said this is being litigated, and I do hope that decision falls on the side of customers' best interest instead of continuing to overpay grossly overpaid executives. There was a Mr. Moss who said something about the Spire salaries, and I would reference what he said. That's on record. You can go look that up. The amount they're being paid is just completely out of control. The focus here should be that utility consumption is a mandatory thing. Utilities are a monopoly. You don't have a choice to go to a different one to get your warmth for your house or to be able to cook in your kitchen. People shouldn't have to apply for help to pay utility bills. That is ridiculous, especially when you look at the salaries being paid to some of these executives. Spire is not managing their business with executives being paid 4 times as much as they should be making. Regardless of what they say about appropriation, these executives are already overpaid, so they should stop paying grossly outrageous salaries, cut Spire's dividends, stop moving the goalposts, and putting the burden on the customers. This is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. Even if you can afford to pay utilities, you shouldn't have to be counting your pennies, trying to figure out how you're going to pay your bills so you don't freeze to death. What are we in Texas now? Okay, that's it.
Ms. Pence, thank you for your comments. I appreciate them. And I saw a hand up from a William. William, are you there?
Yes, Your Honor.
Can you speak up just a little bit? I'm having some difficulty hearing you.
Can you hear me now?
A little bit better. If you could possibly either get closer to your microphone or turn it up just a little bit more, it might help, but I can't hear you. William, would you please state your first and last name and spell them for the court reporter?
William Fasanello, William, F as in Foxtrot, A, S as in Sierra, A, N as in November, ELLO.
And Mr. Fasanello, and I'm sorry if I butchered that, would you raise your right hand to be sworn? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give at this local public hearing is the truth?
I do.
And what would you like to tell the commission today?
Your Honor, I'm willing to actually concede that you could reduce the CEO's salary to 0 and make little difference on people's monthly bills. However, the Spire representatives have failed to account for the drastic increases, especially after the increase they did last winter, which raised my personal bill about $30 a month, keeping the same temperature. Spire in 2021 had a net profit of $271 million, triple that of 2020. And net profit is after they paid all expenses, business taxes, and yes, the shareholders. So the investors got their money, and they still had $271 million left over doing whatever. I don't understand why that money cannot be funneled back into their services to keep the costs the same, if not possibly lower them. especially when their shareholder rate is 4.26%, the dividend rate, that is. By contrast, I work for a Fortune 500 company who has a 2.3% dividend rate. So they can still pay their shareholders and they can still help their consumers, except they choose not to. And when the vice president was making comments trying to explain all these discrepancies, he was inadequate. He talked about a revenue model. He didn't explain it. He didn't even have the public 10K filing that shows the financials, which I have sitting in front of me. He was unable to account for a myriad of factors and trying to hand wave everything. And ultimately, Spire's solution to this problem was to pass the buck and tell consumers, well, you can apply for public assistance and hope for the best. That's not how you run a utility, a necessity, especially when you're the only game in town. And that's all I have to say, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Who else would like to speak to the commission?
My name is Ryan Danner.
Ryan, and I'm sorry, say your last name again?
It's Danner. It's D-A-N-N-E-R.
And Mr. Danner, would you raise your right hand to be sworn? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give at this local public hearing is the truth?
I do.
And what would you like to tell the commission this afternoon?
I want to say thank you for the opportunity to speak and voice my concerns at the proposed Spire rate increase. I'm 30 years old and I live in St. Louis City. I own my house along with my fiance. Our home, like much of St. Louis, was built over 100 years ago. And while it's been remodeled since then, the house wasn't designed as an energy efficient building. The house is 1,200 square feet and we keep it at 62 degrees in the winter. Yet our gas bill is still over $200 in any given winter month. An additional 10% from the proposed rate hike would add a considerable amount to our monthly expenses. Many people in St. Louis live in similar size and age homes, and many of them work jobs that didn't allow for them to participate in this meeting. Working class people are being squeezed financially from every direction these days. An additional 10% to gas, a necessity going into a projected very cold winter, would be devastating to the residents of St. Louis. Spire's already increased rates last winter. Now they're trying to increase rates again to cover the bungling of the St. Louis pipeline. The people of Missouri shouldn't bear the burden of Spire's mistakes. Spire's pushing dirty infrastructure that pollutes their state with pipelines and fracked gas. And they need to see the writing on the wall and realize that gas isn't the future and stop trying to strong arm unnecessary gas infrastructure into our state. We can send this message by not allowing the rate increase. It'll put the burden of Spire's mistakes on Spire and not on the people of Missouri. I want to thank the Missouri Public Service Commission, and please vote no on the proposed rate increase and protect the people of Missouri. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Danner. Would anybody else like to offer comments at this time?
Yes, sir. Frederick Ecker.
Okay. Say your name again, sir.
Frederick Ecker.
And would you spell it, please?
F-R-E-D-E-R-I-C-K-E-C-C-H-E-R.
And Mr. Eckert, would you raise your right hand to be sworn? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give at this local public hearing is the truth?
Yes, sir.
And what would you like to tell the commission?
All right, I have a quick reference I'm going to give you all. So referencing May 16th, 2022, utilities last week tonight with John Oliver. Just a few points to bring up so that you can always watch that episode later. Utilities Accountability 101 is the law says they should spend the least they can while providing quality, environmentally safe service as of January 20th, 2021. That was about minute mark 6 minutes in for me. And there's also unnecessary projects that are possibly even mismanaged, still make about 10% profits on average. So my comments is that Spire is making money. They're definitely spending more money than they have to, and they're that's level mismanagement right there. It's been stated that people are making $700,000.
Judge.
Hold on a second, Mr. Eckert.
I
reporter.
I didn't hear the last couple sentences that he said. If he could just back up just a little bit.
Could you back up a sentence or two, Mr. Eckert?
All right, so I just ripped that last sentence, which is basically, it's been stated here that the board members are making 700,000 to 5 million, 5.6 million, and that's like, as a government contractor, I just made 85 grand. I'm doing just fine. I don't need 5.6 million. I just
Kind of
retired
cut out there for
recently.
just a
I'm
second.
not worried about my bill so much as
Mr. Eckert, you could.
I'm sorry, I have to go to a VA appointment pretty soon. So when
Okay,
I
I'm
wanted to
sorry,
get
you
in
cut
here.
out for just a second, so go ahead.
But my main concern is that people are just going to keep, there is no incentive for them not to mismanage any projects or to keep people from having to go to dollar help, which doesn't really help. So that's what I wanted to put on record as a VA captain retired, or U.S. Army captain. That's all I got to say, sir.
Okay, well, thank you for your comments, Mr. Eckert.
All right.
And who else would like to offer comments to the commission today?
A comment. I would like to make a comment, please.
Okay, I heard I heard a woman there. Would you go ahead and say your name and spell it for the court reporter?
Okay, my name's Jennifer O'Brien. First name is Jennifer. Last name O'Brien, O''Brien. And
Ms.
I'm
O'Brien,
just
would you
a
raise your right
consumer.
hand to be sworn, please? Do you solemnly
Yes.
swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give at this local public hearing is the truth?
Yes, I do.
Please go ahead with your comments.
Okay, the first comment is that I think that an increase just having service to the house, that I only have gas furnace, and the house originally was built as an electric house. So I pay a minimum amount just to get gas from the curb to the house monthly. And if it's going to go up like another $10, that's a significant increase. And I wanted to comment on that. And somebody else had made a comment that having an all-electric house, it wouldn't be more efficient. And the house I've lived in for the last 20 years was initially all electric, had a heat pump, and was very efficient. It was built well, and my combined electric and gas are similar to what it was, just all electric. And 12 years ago, when we needed to replace the heat pump, we couldn't find anybody in the St. Louis area to work on a heat pump. Even the company that had installed the heat pump no longer had older people that knew how to work it, or he had even seen a heat pump. So everything I've read recently says that the heat pump is environmentally better, and for the whole environment, better than both gas and electric. So having an all-electric house was very efficient, but we couldn't find somebody to work on it. So now we pay almost $25 a month, at least 9 months out of the year for not having heat on. And so to have it go up another $10 seems like a very significant increase. And that's my comment.
Okay, Ms. O'Brien, thank you for your comments.
I have a comment for the commission.
Yes, sir. And what's your name?
Harvey Bergman, Harvey, F as in Frank, ERD as in David, MAN.
Okay, I'm going to ask you if you can turn your volume up or get close to your microphone, and would you please spell your name again?
Better?
Yes.
Okay, Harvey, Harvey, Bergman, F as in Frank, ERD as in David, MAN.
Okay, Mr. Furman, would you raise your right hand to be sworn? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give at this local public hearing is the truth?
I do.
Thank you. And Mr. Furman, if you want to go ahead and offer your comments to the commission.
Thank you very much. I just want to ask the commissioners to be sure that there's no double dipping taking place, because Spire Gas Provider also owns STL Spire STL pipeline. And it seems like there's an opportunity for STL pipeline to raise the prices to Spire, and then Spire to say, oh, therefore we have to raise the prices to our customers, when all along it's them raising their prices to themselves. So just want to make sure that, I'm sure the commissioners are well aware of that, but I just want to make sure that that's being looked at. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Furman, for your comments. Is there anybody else who would like to offer comments to the commission?
This is Dr. Sean Foley.
Dr. Foley, would you please,
Thank you, Your Honor.
would you please spell your name for the court reporter?
I will, yes. SHAWN. F is in Frank, OLEY.
And Mr. Foley, would you raise your right hand to be sworn? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give at this local public hearing is the truth?
I do, however, I will also state some of this is opinion, yes? But yeah, I will not lie.
That's all I ask, Mr. Foley, or Dr. Foley. If you would like to at this time, please, what would you like to tell the commission today?
Yeah, thank you, Your Honor, and members of the commission. My name is Dr. Sean Foley. I'm a Kansas City resident. And based on what I heard today in the Q&A portion, I did just want to learn more, and I did. And also from the comments portion so far, it seems to me this request would be a clear violation of public trust to satisfy private interests. My understanding is this is the second off-cycle rate increase within a year. The last one being, I heard, winter. I didn't get a date on that. And that basically it's, and this is what we were told in the Q&A, it's to repay investors, ensure that base salaries are available to cover laborers, but also to cover executives and members of the board making compensation in the hundreds of thousands, in some cases in the $1 million range. And that's base compensation, to be clear. It's also to ensure that stocks remain healthy, that they can meet EPS calculations and pay their dividends. And then there was also, of course, this infrastructure need that seems to be above and beyond what the public would have had any opportunity to choose, like maybe the fracking or something like this. In general, however, it was very unclear due to the complicated financial model, multiple private interests, what was really going on here, other than what I've already stated. So it's clear to me the additional money and rate increase is really going to support this financial model, perhaps a flawed model. There was one person that came in and explained that they felt it was very flawed. And as a result, it seems that some of the need here is being misrepresented. It's being represented as a reinvestment that will go to serve the public good, when in fact, a portion or possibly even the largest portion would instead go to further private interests and exploit the public resource for profit. The answers provided in the Q&A explained the need to pay investors and compensate private companies that Spire principals and leadership either work with or have a direct financial interest in supporting. Instead, I would suggest that Spire basically look at their current profits, which we've heard today, maybe reduce the dividends paid to shareholders, maybe reduce executive-based compensation, or use other business triggers to make up this shortfall, especially since they're already very profitable. And you've heard that today from others. So please vote no. But if you do vote yes, I would suggest in that case some consideration for seniors on a fixed income and non-seniors making less than $176,000 per year, or the 24% federal tax bracket, to be exempt from any increase. If this is really that critical for the public good and for our public resource, let the most privileged citizens among us, that would include me and my family, shoulder this burden for the good of all. For the record, I would like you to vote no, but if it has to be yes, then please consider going to the people who are the most privileged in the state and not put this burden on anyone who is struggling at this time. And thank you.
Okay. And thank you, Dr. Foley, for your comments. I have no questions about them. Is there anybody else who would like to offer comments to the commission at this time?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am, would you please say your name and spell it for the court reporter?
My name's Catherine Pinner, Katherine, Pinner, Pinner.
And Ms. Pinner, would you raise your right hand to be sworn? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give at this local public hearing is the truth?
I do.
And what comments would you like to offer to the commission today?
In my neighborhood, we had meters replaced. The meter that I have shows that it went in August of 2020, which was a mere 2 years ago. When that meter went in, I do not believe that it was installed by a Spire employee. I believe that that position was outsourced. And looking back, it would be good to look at the record at the last date because I believe it was replaced fairly recently before that. So it's a question of how frequently do these meters really need to be replaced. The community that I live in, and myself, I'll speak for myself, I would rather see cost savings than accurate real-time data as was suggested by Spire. I'm not worried about being able to look at how fast I'm using, but rather I would be more concerned with the rate that I'm getting charged. And I do believe that others may have that similar concern. Right now, across the board, 401ks are in reduction, people's salaries are getting reduced, and this is at all levels of our society. People are losing their jobs due to unconstitutional medical mandates. And so at a time when we have an economic recession, is this the time to be raising rates for utility unless it's warranted? Spire, within the last 5 years, had an innovation strategy whereby they were looking at expanding their business model to include additional methods for metering, and these were commercial industrial applications. This was when they were looking at providing metering services to commercial clients and industrial. And I would ask, how successful have those endeavors been? Because if they haven't, in a normal business model, you don't then, look at that as being a very, a business that would warrant additional funding going in to cover baseline costs. So is there success in their innovation strategy should be paying for these additional, at least baseline infrastructure. That would then be an issue with executive leadership. And I'm a little concerned what I'm hearing is executive leadership salaries are going up with an unhealthy business model. That is the end of my comment. Thank you for your consideration.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Penner.
Your Honor. Sorry,
Yes.
I just wanted to get you before you moved on to another person. John Kleiser with OPC. May I pose a question to the witness or the
Ms. Penner, are you still available to answer a question?
I'm here.
Okay, Mr. Kleiser, go ahead and ask your question.
Really quick, you mentioned a meter replacement in 2020. Are you saying your current meter was installed in 2020 or you had a meter installed in 2020 that was then replaced?
The meter is showing a date of 8/20. And I have had the meter, I believe, replaced twice since I've been in this home.
How long
And
have you
that's
been in this
within
home?
the last 17 years.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Penner, again, thank you for your comments and thank you for answering the question. Is there anybody else who would like to make comments to the commission at this time?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Would you please say and spell your name for the record?
Sure. It's Janelle, Janelle. Last name Shuey, S. J as in Jack, U as in umbrella, E as in Edgar.
And Ms. Shuey, would you raise your right hand to be sworn? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give at this local public hearing is the truth?
I do.
And what would you like to tell the commission today?
I am in graduate school and studying some financial modeling. I would draw a point to have the commission look at the compensation packages of the executives of Spire. And I do realize that the Spire employees are trying to parse it out as different line items. But Mark Durrell made a $1.254 million. Suzanne Sitherwood made $5.3 million. Stephen Lindsay made $2.1 million. So I would just have the commission examine that. That doesn't seem really Missouri to me. I've lived in Missouri for 25 years. And Missouri being the show me state, I don't feel like that is equivalent to what a normal Missourian is dealing with economically at this time. I would also just draw out that earlier in the Q&A, Spire representatives said that no federal funds were received by Spire. And I would like to point out that their energy assistance program is actually through the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, low income home energy assistance. So those are federal dollars that Spire takes advantage of to help homeowners pay their gas bills. So that is federal money that Spire receives. So I would say that too, that they aren't even aware of where their finances are going, obviously, or where they come from. And thirdly, I would say in a sound business model, you would have on years of excessive net income that you would reinvest or put money toward future expenses, that being infrastructure, technology. We're all looking at expenses in cybersecurity and things like that. That should come out of your profitable net income from previous fiscal cycles, and not necessarily from clients who are obligated in this situation to pay, that there is not another option. I'm just wondering, since we're moving outside of the 3-year budget cycle, there was a rate increase last November, if this isn't actually a market failure and we are seeing an instance of a private entity not being able to fulfill civic duty and being able to fulfill the needs of the Missourians at this time. And if this isn't an example of where another entity needs to come in. So I would just draw attention to that as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else who would like to offer comments to the commission at this time?
I would, please.
Yes, please. What's your name?
Karen, Karen, Shevik, SHE, B as in boy, IK. I also work for a
Ms. Shevik, would you raise your right hand to be sworn?
Oh, sorry, yes.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give at this local public hearing is the truth?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt. Please go ahead.
Okay. I work for a Fortune 500 company who also reported under anticipated profits this past year. They had to reanalyze their infrastructure. They had to eliminate products that were no longer serving the company well. They also had to look at some of their departments and either replace or eliminate some positions. For the remaining employees, they've delayed raises for 4 months so that they could reinvest that money into the company versus having to pass that burden on to the customer and raise prices. So I request that Spire take a look at that option first, please. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Shevik, for your comments. I don't have any questions. Is there anybody else who would like to offer comments to the commission at this time? Okay, going once, going twice, going 3 times. Anybody? All right, well.
Please don't turn Missouri into California. That's why I left.
And I'm assuming that's Mr. Moss? All right.
Yes, sir.
Would the commissioners like to make any closing remarks?
Thanks, judges. Commissioner Holzman, just want to thank everybody for taking their time to express their opinions. We do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I couldn't unmute. Can I make one more comment?
Yes, who's speaking, please?
All right, thank you. My name is Sandy Meyer. It's S-A-N-D-I. Meyer is M-E-Y-E-R.
Ms. Meyer, would you raise your right hand and be sworn? And I'm getting a lot of feedback.
Yes.
Do you have the TV or something on in the background?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm outside and I'm working kind of thing, so it's a work event. I'm trying to be quiet.
I
Is this
certainly
better?
understand, and I thank you for showing up today. Ms. Meyer, do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give at this local public hearing is the truth?
Yes.
Okay.
I do.
What would you like to tell the commission?
Okay, my comment is I looked up their Spire's net for the first 9 months of this year. It was over $220 million, and I suggest that they take their rate increase out of that. That's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Myers. I'll ask one more time. Is there anybody else who I missed who would like to offer a comment? Okay, I'd like to at this time thank everybody who participated in today's local public hearing. The commission takes these things very seriously. This is the only chance that they really get outside of the evidentiary hearing, where we hear mainly from parties, to hear from ratepayers. So I appreciate everybody taking time out of their day to offer comments to the commission to attend this hearing. Now, you may get home later today and realize that you did not make a comment and you wanted to make a comment, or you may get home and talk to somebody and they may indicate that they wanted to make a comment but were unable to attend. If you would like to make written comments to the commission, you are welcome to do so. And you can make written comments by contacting the Office of the Public Counsel, or by using the email address pscinfo@psc.mo.gov, or by going to the Public Service Commission's webpage, and there should be a link there to leave comments. If you do decide to leave comments, please be sure to include the case number if possible. The case number in this case is GR-2022-0179. I'll ask at this time for parties, is there anything else that the commission needs to take up today at this local public hearing before we adjourn? Spire, Missouri?
Hi, this is Dr. Sean Foley again.
Yes, Dr. Foley?
Just one other thing occurred to me, Judge, through your honor, and I'm not sure if this makes sense, but we also heard that there's litigation currently in process, and I'm not sure what types of sanctions might be there as well, but perhaps another thought is, should rate increases even be considered if current litigation around business practices are being, are actually moving their way through the courts? So maybe the whole idea of a rate increase gets paused when there's some question of business practices. And thank you, Your Honor, and the Commission. Thank you guys for everything today.
Okay. And thank you again, Dr. Foley, for your supplemental comments. Those will be added to the record. Spire, is there anything the commission needs to take up at this time?
Yes, Your Honor. I would just want to make sure that everyone on the phone knows that our dedicated text line of community support specialist is still open and will be for the rest of the day. The number is in the chat, but I'll repeat it here. It's 314-339-8762. You can also visit our website, spireenergy.com/assistance, to find out more about the programs we discussed in the Q&A section. Thank you, Your Honor, and thank you to the commissioners for being here.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Applington. Anything from the commission staff that needs to be taken up at this time?
No, Your Honor.
Anything from the Office of the Public Counsel?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, again, I'd like to thank everybody for their participation today. I'll remind some of you that there is a local public hearing in Kansas City on the 18th at 6 p.m. I believe that's at the Kleiss Community Center. So if you have any desire to attend an in-person public hearing, you're more than welcome to attend there and offer comments as well, or get further information at the Q&A session. With that, I'm going to adjourn this hearing. We will go off the record. Thank you very much for your participation again.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you so much, Commissioners.